Hi, it's the Chappiness guy. Welcome to today's episode of Vestibular Talks. Today's special guest is Shruti. She's here to talk to us about raising awareness for chronic illnesses, mostly invisible illnesses that are always not so invisible, chronic pain, chronic migraine, anxiety, and depression. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy the episode, guys. Find your chappiness. All right. How Shruti? How are you?
I'm good, John. How are you?
Good, good, good. Thank you for being part of this episode of Vestibular
Thank
Talks.
you for
Really
reaching
appreciate
out.
it. Yeah, no, my pleasure. Do you mind telling us a little bit about who you are and how your journey began?
Well, my name is Shruti. I'm a content marketer from India. I moved to Canada about a year and a half ago, just before COVID hit.
No?
Um, yeah, I've had migraine forever. I mean, I remember having headaches even when I was 6 or 7 years old.
Okay.
So my parents usually wrote it off as, trying to get out of school because there was nothing really wrong. And they did take me to a lot of doctors, but, at that age, they just assumed that, okay, it's probably nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I was 12 or 13, I was in a lot of pain almost every day. And that is when, we started seeking out more help and got so many tests done. And finally, I think I remember this. It was after 2 years of this that I was diagnosed with migraine.
With chronic migraine.
Yeah, chronic migraine comes from the trigger has been chronic anxiety and depression. So at that age, I didn't know much. So and they gave me a bunch of medicines, and I was on that medicine until my daughter. I got pregnant with my daughter.
Okay.
So that's a long time to be on medicines. But it's been tough because prophylactics help only so much. Even I tried changing my diet. I tried changing my lifestyle. I've never I stopped having caffeine. Never really was into coffee anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But during college, I was drinking a little just to stay awake. I haven't stopped that. Eat healthy, walk, etc., etc. Nothing really. It didn't doesn't help as much. It didn't help me as much at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So yeah, we kept going back to the neurologist one after the other, and everybody said it's migraine. You can't really do anything about it. So this is all we can do. Then they said you should go to a psychiatrist because since it's stress and depression, maybe they can help you out. But
Mm-hmm.
they said this is wired into your brain. So you'll have to do probably CBT and other kinds of therapies, which at that time was not available to me in India.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because often migraine and many other chronic conditions go intertwined with anxiety and depression. And you're right, they are kind of like triggers as well. Uh, and they feed each other because when you get the symptoms, you start to get anxious because you think, okay, am I going to have this forever? What's happening to me? Am I going to be able to go to work? Am I going to be able, like you being a mom, like, am I going to be able to take care of my daughter? Like all these things go through your mind. So yes, obviously that causes anxiety, and that anxiety feeds depression because then you start to feel down. You kind of blame yourself. You're like why me? Why me? Is this me? Is this all really in my head? And then the symptoms obviously don't get better because they keep it keeps like feeding off each other, feeding off each other.
Yeah.
So you're completely right. It's such a there's such a connection between the anxiety and depression and the migraine or any other chronic illness as well. Something that you mentioned is that you moved to Canada about a year and a half ago. How well, the weather in India completely different to the weather in Canada. So how has that affected you in your symptoms? Like has it changed? Has it increased, decreased?
So this is very interesting for me. I grew up in a city which was called as the air-conditioned city of India, right?
Okay.
Summer, the temperature when I was growing up was maximum 12, 13 degrees. That's about it. It was
Ah,
always cool, rainy, beautiful weather. But then, of course, people started coming in. We had more migration from across the country, and the
yeah.
city grew. And right now, summer is at 40, 42. It's almost always between 25 and 42, you know.
Yeah.
So that also meant more pollution. And I noticed that heat was a big trigger. It was a very big trigger. And funnily, I went to study at a university which was in one of the hottest places in India.
Mm.
That was interesting because 4 years I had migraine every day. I couldn't sleep. Once I couldn't sleep for a week. My father had to come, take me out of the college. We had to get me, some treatment, get some sleeping meds, and I slept it off for like a couple of weeks and then got back. So this happened.
It's
And when I got back to my city, I noticed that every summer it got worse. Every summer it felt so bad. Like I've never had this much pain before, and I can't take it anymore.
Mhm.
And I got married and went to Dubai,
Oh, okay.
of all the places. Yes, because
Yes.
my husband was working there, so I couldn't take it because 8 months of that, staying indoors, air conditioned, but still you feel the heat outside, and outside it's so hot. I
Yeah.
just couldn't handle it. So we moved back to my city in India. And yeah, this was a big reason. The reason that we moved to Canada was the weather. So I thought being in a cooler place would help me.
Yeah.
Turns out the pressure changes don't.
Yeah. It's yeah. No, you're right. And something
Oh,
very interesting that you mentioned, air conditioning. To me, it triggers me. Like if I'm in a place that is like I start to feel like I feel off. Like we know our bodies very well. And when
yeah.
I have air conditioning, I feel off. Like something is not right, and I start
I
to
feel suffocated as if not able to breathe, and something's wrong with my mind. It's not lightheadedness. It's more like it's churning, and you just know that it's not okay.
something is not right. Yeah. Shruti, what about you said that you actually get the migraine headache, but what about other symptoms like neurological symptoms, like for example, I don't know, like stress or disturbances with your vision, or maybe lack of appetite, or tremors, things like that, or is it just the headache, the symptom that you feel the most?
It's so weird that I didn't notice the other symptoms for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Right around the time that I got pregnant, at least the first trimester was the worst ever. I mean, counting all the migraine attacks that I've had. And it's at that time when I went for physio that I understood that my neck pain was not normal. I thought it was normal to be tensed and to feel this much pain. And my physio said, "No, honey, that's not normal. Like you've been dealing with this for a very long time, and I don't know how."
Yeah.
And then I went to an ortho who said, I think I have fibromyalgia as well. My doctor seems to think that could be a reason because I have heel pain and then I have cramps here and there, just unexplained muscle aches and things like that. So I never noticed it, or rather, never knew that this was not normal. I thought everybody has this pain.
Yes, and many people actually live like that, assuming that is it's a common thing, but when they realize it isn't. For example, with me, uh, my migraines are vestibular migraines, so they make me really dizzy and they cause vertigo.
Yeah,
Whenever I go to the dentist, laying on the dentist bed, whenever I get up, I'm completely dizzy, and I thought that was for
that
everyone.
was normal.
So one time I was talking to someone and I'm like, yeah, I don't like the dentist. And they're like, oh, are you afraid of the pain in your teeth? I'm like, no, I just don't like the dizziness. They're like, what dizziness? I'm like, when you get up from the chair and you're all dizzy, they're like, that's not normal. And I was like, it's not. And like in my whole life, I thought that was a normal thing. But you know what? You also mentioned, Shruti, the fact that the fibromyalgia, or the fact that the neck pain, a lot of things with migraine, like migraine doesn't only just involve the head. A lot of people experience like IBS, like symptoms with their gut
I have that
intestinal.
too.
Yes, and then or with me, I have like spasms, muscular spasms in my neck, in my back. Sometimes a tickle on the top of my eye, like it starts to vibrate really fast. And
Yep.
I was telling the doctor once, I'm like, do you think that's a symptom of MS? He's like, no, not MS. That's all migraine. I'm like, how is migraine causing all of these things around my body? And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's more involved in your whole body than you think. And I was like, wow, that was shocking to me to hear. Now, Shruti, what about when you said you couldn't sleep for a week? When So we have different types of conditions. The ones that are episodic, that you feel episodes, they come high and then they go low and they disappear, they come again. Or you have chronic, like what happened to you, that you had a migraine every single day. Same with me and my dizziness. Well, it's not mine. I don't like to say my dizziness. With that dizziness, it became chronic, that it became every single day. At the beginning, Shruti, I couldn't fall asleep. I was in a state of high alert, panic, and when you don't sleep, it's the worst, because you
Yes.
you start to feel like a schizophrenic. Like you get agitated, you get angry for everything, you're overwhelmed, you just don't feel like you anymore. So similar to you, I had to go to the doctor. They put me in a treatment. They put me into some pills that lasted for about 2 or 3 weeks, so I could get some sleep. Now I'm fine. Like now I can sleep the whole night. But how was that experience for you, not being able to sleep?
I think this was different because through school, I was always used to waking up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. to study. So
Okay.
I would always wake up early. And at uni, at least for the first couple of months or even the first 2 years, we would stay awake late in the night because, all be talking and having fun. And then I'd wake up again early in the morning to study. So when the no sleep thing happened at first, I thought it was just an off thing. Maybe I'm just not able to sleep today. But when it happened for a week, I realized, okay, something's wrong. Now, I observed that over time, my personality had completely changed. I used to be a very, confident kid before I was diagnosed, before I felt these things. Until I was about 10, I was the top of my class. I would get involved in all kinds of activities. I was always chosen to lead groups. You know, I was just full of confidence. I was so happy that, I'm at the top of the world. And after that, slowly, I started being more insecure, feeling inadequate, feeling left out, lonely, alone. I felt isolated because I didn't realize that the pain had influenced me so much. And it was not just the pain, like you said, right? It was the stomach issues. I was always sick. Nobody wants to be friends with someone who's always tired or sick or doesn't run, doesn't want to play hide and seek, things like that. So
Yeah.
if we went out, let's say during PE, we are outside in the sun, I would faint within 5 minutes because the sun was too much. My head would start aching. I would get tunnel vision, dizziness, and just faint. Nobody wanted to be with such a person. So that kind of intensified when I was in college because we had to walk quite a lot to the classes and back. And that was a lot of heat exposure.
Yeah.
It was always hot. We did not have aircon in at university. It's just a thing. And you have to walk upstairs. There are no elevators, nothing. And it's really hot. So I think it all played in, and I was very stressed about not being comfortable in my own body, in my own skin, in the environment that I was in, and it just affected me a lot. So I think I was at one point, it was just like I could hear every thought in my head. Um, I can feel very vividly that I'm so tired, but I'm so wide awake.
Yes. Yes.
It's impossible to fall asleep. And it happens even now at times. If I don't fall asleep during that window where I feel sleepy, I can't sleep the entire night. And I feel that way for days together, like a hangover or being
Yes.
high.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
a it's such an unpleasant experience. Like a lot of people think, oh, no sleep, big deal. It is a big deal. Like it,
it
it,
is a
it
big
is
deal.
such a big deal. And for especially for someone that suffers from migraines, non-sleeping is a trigger. Like if
It
you don't
is.
get the proper sleep, it triggers you right away. Uh, Shruti, what about the so live in India, now live in Canada? How is the medical system like from both places? Do you feel that they acknowledge you more in India, or they acknowledge more your condition in Canada, and are they helping you with a treatment, or how's it going?
I don't want to upset anybody. So one of the reasons we moved here was the healthcare system, that we had free healthcare and access to pretty much everything. Things in India are quite expensive sometimes.
Hmm.
And our insurance does not cover anything for which you're not hospitalized. So even if you get insurance, let's say I go to the neurologist and I have to get an MRI, etc., I'll have to pay out of my pocket.
Yeah.
But if I uh, even let's say mental health services as well, nothing, no insurance covers it, not even here.
Hmm.
So it's that it feels right now, it feels like it's cheaper there Like going to the chiropractor, going to for any kind of paramedical is cheaper there and more accessible there than it is here. I had the worst, episode, like a months of pain, and I couldn't get to see my GP here when I got here first. And when I did see my GP, he wanted me to do a bunch of tests, which is understandable because I'm new, etc. And then he did not want to refer me to a neurologist at first. He said, I don't think you have migraine. I said, I've been on medication like until now.
Yeah.
And now I know I need to switch. Something's happening, something's different, because I didn't know about the pressure variations. So I had to fight. And then finally he did book an appointment. I had a year's waiting list.
Yeah.
And then that year ended. I got a message just a day before my appointment that because of COVID, we're doing this. And we'll probably push you. We're canceling all the appointments. We're going to push it. So it's very frustrating that I can't get to see a doctor when I need to.
You're right. You're right. But there are good doctors. There are you just gotta find one that is working with you and for you rather than against you. Because I experienced when my symptoms first started here in Canada, I went to many different doctors that they will dismiss me. They are like, oh, it's in your head. Oh, you're just anxious. Oh, it's just stress. Go for a walk and you'll be fine. And I'm like, what? Until I found one that was like, okay, you know what? I believe you. Let's do tests. Let's find out what's going on with you. And he was very on top of like, hey, we need to refer you to a neurologist. We need to refer you to an ENT. And I was like, wow, the difference from going to like 6 or 7 other doctors that basically brush me off their shoulders, like, no, you're fine, get out of here, take an Advil or just take a Tylenol and you'll be fine, to finding a doctor that is like, okay, let's find how we're gonna help you because we need to get you some help. So,
Yeah.
so I don't want you to get discouraged completely. It is frustrating, but there are some good doctors. But yes, you're right. The timelines are crazy. To see a specialist, it can be even to get an MRI, a year to 2 years.
Yes.
So you're right.
I think my second MRI, which is happening this weekend, was booked last year at the same time. So, and the GP, of course, I know that I have to switch, but because of COVID, it was very hard for us to find someone who was accepting patients. But with a neurologist, I know that there's a headache clinic downtown, and someone else told me that this doctor is good. I'll put in a word. I told my GP that I know I can get some reference, even if the wait list is 2 years. Can we start the process now? He says, no, why do you want to go downtown? You live like 50 kilometers away. I don't mind traveling.
Yeah.
I just want to get help.
You want to get with the expert that is specifies on that area, of course.
Exactly. But I was happy with the neurologist, at least the first appointment, because he heard me out. He even explained how the MRI has changed. I have white lesions in my brain. And he explained how my brain fog, the memory issues, the concentration. I'm not able to write anymore. I'm a writer, can't write anymore. So he said all this can be explained because those are the parts that are affected. But let's start you on Aimovig. Right away, he was very quick about it. He said, let's start you on Aimovig. Stop taking the other medications that you're taking. And he said, we'll follow up in, a couple of months. But that felt like such a long time. And this time, when I had the second appointment, which was yesterday, I was because I'm having vestibular symptoms right now. I'm having more fatigue. My eye pain is just intense. So new symptoms. And I said, do you think we should do a test? Or do you think I should see someone else for it? And he said, everything's related to your migraine and your migraine is related to your depression. So unless you get that under control, I can't do anything. So that was frustrating.
Yeah.
And you should understand in India, you can just walk into any clinic, any hospital and demand to see a doctor and you can see the doctor within 5-10 minutes, right? At least where I lived. And of course, it's going to cost you, but it's not that big a cost as compared to what it could be here.
Yeah, and and you're right. And then sometimes, unfortunately, the experts are not very compassionate. Like the way how he talked to you, I experienced that before with one of the neurologists that I saw. He said, take flunarizine. And then I was like, okay, I took it, and I kept trying to call him. I'm like, I'm having side effects. And he's like, no, it's not time for a follow-up yet, so wait another 3 months or 4 months until I call you back. And I'm like, but what should I do in the meantime? Like I'm struggling with this medication. And he will be like, well, we'll figure it out. And then now I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and so I'm taking right now flunarizine and nortriptyline. I'm taking two of them. And I said, doctor, when is our next follow-up? And he's like, well, maybe we'll do maybe about 6 months from now. And I said, okay, if something happens between those 6 months, can I still reach out to you? He's like, no, just tough it out for the next 6 months and good luck. And you're kind of like, you're supposed to be like on my side. You're supposed to be there for me. And they kind of just like brush it off like, I'm too busy type of thing. And good luck, best of luck. And if it doesn't work, well, too bad for you type of thing.
Yes.
And it's like it kind of leaves you. They are not compassionate. They are very cold, like to the point.
And I really don't understand the year-long wait list. I don't understand how anybody can be that busy in a country that's got, let's say, or rather in a state, in this province where you have just about 12, 30 million people. So even if you make time, let's say 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day to see everybody who's got any kind of neurological issues, it should not be a year's wait.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
And overthinking all this again gives me another attack. So
yeah.
it's quite tough. Right now, looking back, I feel like if I was back home, I wouldn't get any sort of understanding. People do acknowledge migraine better here. I mean, it's great that it's recognized as a disability. Over there, I was admitted to the hospital once, and they laughed at me for being there for a headache. They said, you're here for a headache. And they gave me Tylenol. But that happened here as well. I went to the hospital, they gave me Tylenol.
Yeah, it's happened to me the first time that I had the first big episode. Same thing. I was panicking. I went to the hospital and they gave me some saline solution for my veins to hydrate me, and they gave me a Tylenol and they said go home. And I was like, are you kidding? Yeah.
I said I've had about 10 of these today. But it's okay. It's okay. You'll feel better. There's nothing much we can do. But they can, right? They can actually do an IV infusion. They just didn't hear me out.
You know what, Shruti? It's migraine is such a misunderstood beast that people don't really understand how complex the symptoms and how difficult it is for a person that lives with migraine, especially chronic migraines, to survive every day. Like every day for you and for me and for many other sufferers, you have to like plan it. Okay, I have to sleep this many hours. I have to eat this. I have to be careful not to eat that. I have to make sure that I don't have too much sunlight in my face. I have to make sure that I don't watch too much TV or spend too much time in the computer. I have to make sure that I'm not too stressed out. Like we have to like schedule every moment of the day so we don't go into a spiral of symptoms. And I feel for you because you're saying that you're feeling vestibular symptoms lately. They suck. They suck. They are so nerve-wracking because when you start to feel off balance or you feel dizzy or you feel that things are starting to like spin, you're like, oh no, like and your heart rate accelerates, you feel all out of control. I don't like them. I do not like them.
Let me just take you through what I feel when I have like generally before the vestibular symptoms came up. Of course, the pain and everything. I got extremely sensitive to light every day. Like for past few years, it's just increasing sensitivity to light, even when I'm not in, having an attack, a very this thing. And sound, I can't stand the sound of my own voice. I can't stand perfume, or my husband was smoking at the time. I just couldn't handle the cigarettes. And my workplace, oh God, it just reeked like a chimney. I couldn't stand it. My daughter is very hyperactive, so she moves around a lot. When she started walking, she was all over. And I felt so dizzy and disoriented because of it. My stomach, this is something I could never explain. This is why I was probably not diagnosed for a long time, because I used to say my stomach hurts, I feel sick. I was having IBS symptoms and I was having nausea. They thought it was something to do with the tummy, and they spent like 6 months trying to figure out what's wrong with my tummy. And it was all linked. So I feel weak. I don't know, it's like an assault. Like someone actually said it's a full-blown assault on your system.
It is.
It is. And
everything you described, Shruti, like people don't understand that our senses get enhanced with these attacks. Like they get so enhanced. You're right. Visual light is completely like annoying. Sound, I was to the point, Shruti, that I could hear electricity inside the walls, like going zzz, zzz, zzz. And,
Me
and
too.
I would tell people, I'm like, you hear that? And they're like, what? I'm like, you hear that? And then I will go around, I put my ear in the wall, I'm like, it's there. And then people will come and listen, and they're like, it is there. And
Oh
I
my
could
God.
hear it from rooms away. And right now, at my house, everybody is like not allowed to wear perfumes, to wear any hand creams without scent, like the unscented ones, fine. But any perfume, I feel nauseous. I smell them and I'm like, ah, and I can feel the pressure on the top of my forehead. So I feel for you because people don't realize how enhanced like all of our
Sound, especially where I lived in India, my neighborhood. I don't know when it started, but I think about when I was 16, there was construction going on, right? And construction after construction. So that noise was always there.
uh,
And when I moved to another new place, a new construction started somewhere near us. And at my workplace, I could hear the UPS, the generator. It's got this buzzing sound that
yeah,
literally nobody could hear, but I could.
you could.
And we have transformers. So electricity over there, we have these electrical transformers right outside the window, right? At least my room, right outside my window was a transformer at my apartment.
You could hear the
I could
buzzing.
hear the, yeah, I could
It,
hear the buzz all the time.
it drives you nuts because you start to think, you're like, am I mental? Like, why am I hearing this
But
and
I
nobody
knew I
else?
was not mental and I could like hear it because of migraine, but people around me thought I was crazy. That was
Yeah, yeah, no, it's migraine is such a beast. Yeah, I
And it's
don't.
funny, even in UAE, when I was there, there was a construction going on, let's say a couple of miles away, and I could hear it. Here, right here, outside the window, you can actually see there's a construction going around behind Marriott, and I can hear it all the time.
Yeah, it's
It's just
it's
bad luck.
it's it's not. Yeah, it's following you. It's like chasing you.
Yeah, it's just bad
Everywhere you
luck.
go, there's construction. Yeah. Uh,
It's yeah.
Judy,
Have
what?
you have you noticed that where I don't know if you guys have cell towers, you have not noticed them, but there are a lot of these mobile phone towers in India. And every time I was under within a certain radius of one, it would set off a migraine attack.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't noticed that. Like, we have one, but it's about maybe 2 to 3 kilometers away. So maybe I'm not close enough to feel a difference, but I'll keep an eye on that because yeah, maybe. And more and more keep popping up. So they keep putting a lot of them. So
Yeah.
yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
You hear that?
Oh, that's my fan. Sorry.
Oh, what was
It's
that?
too hot.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
um, Shruti, okay, so we discussed that you're now trying a new medication, right? Like you're trying is that the injection?
Aimovig is the injection. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, how, like, that compared to other medications like pills, how do you feel? Like, is there any noticeable difference between the two?
Pills had a lot of side effects.
Mm.
There was so much brain fog, so much. Again, pills also kind of work on that part of your brain, serotonin, etc., right? Which
Yeah,
affects your personality big time. And I was on it for a very long time. And it did affect my kidneys as well at one point. After which I kind of just tapered off and stopped. But more so, no clarity in thinking at all. And for me, I used to be very intelligent. I had all these dreams which pretty much crashed, and I feel so stuck in a body that I wasn't ready to have.
yeah,
So I mean, at least Imovig, I feel like because it's not acting on that part of your brain, it kind of helps me feel better, at least think better. Even that placebo effect that I don't have to take these pills, I don't have to feel the side effects of them. I don't have to worry about, you know, tapering off over a couple of months, etc. So the placebo effect is there, but yes, it is different in a way that it's just a month. So I needn't worry about forgetting to take my meds. I needn't worry about, okay, if I take this medication, I have to sleep for 9 hours. Otherwise, it's not going to help me.
yeah,
Right? I was on Topomax and Triptoma,
yeah.
amitriptyline.
I mean,
So that meant I had to sleep. And it's very hard to regulate sleep patterns like that, at least for me. So I think it really helped. And initially, it did help reduce. It was a very minute difference. The intensity of migraine came down. I could manage by taking Advil or Triptan or something like that. So I think it's better to have like a CGRP or something like that. But right now, I've had to increase my dosage to see if it'll make more of an effect.
Yeah. Um, Medications like Topamax, amitriptyline or triptyline, flunarizine. What I did notice in my case, at least, I don't know if it happened to you as well, they make you extremely dependent. If you miss a doses, the symptoms basically almost like come all crashing down, basically telling your body, "Hey, where's the pill?" And
Yes.
so I noticed that that's something that happens to me with the pills. Like if I miss it for by a few hours, I start feeling off, and I'm like, yeah, I haven't taken the pill. So
Yep.
they make you extremely dependent, which is why you have to wean off of them in a period of months, because you cannot just cut them dry.
Yep.
It would be a shock to your body. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
that's something
And
that
also, they have an effect on your weight, on your appetite, on pretty much everything that you do. Some
yeah
people may not notice it, but if you suddenly, like, if you gain weight over a period of time, it's because of the medicine.
yeah they
I
often
had IBS. The IBS was in control because of Topamax. So I never knew I had IBS. It's
mm,
when I stopped that I realized what all symptoms I had. And when you do realize what all symptoms you have, you can actually manage it better,
yeah.
figure out ways that you can. Otherwise, it just hides behind a medication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shruti, your Instagram page is very active with raising awareness, promoting like a lifestyle that moves around being chronically ill with migraine and things like that. Um, how have you noticed a positive response from people when with your posts? Like, are they supportive or are they like very standoffish? What do you think?
I think the migraine community is very supportive across the world. Um, they're so nice. It's just one place where I felt seen. So I felt alone for a very long time.
Mm,
Even after I moved to Canada, I felt helpless because I wasn't able to talk to my doctor. I did not have any number to call. I didn't know what was happening to me. And there's not much of an awareness about this even in India. So family was not supportive,
mm-hmm.
things like that. So I think I felt seen for the first time by the community here, by the support groups, and even the Instagram, all the influencers who are raising awareness about it. And they have done the same for me. They have shown so much support, so much positivity. Like Alicia, Mrs. Migraine Tasek, or Tia with Invisible Illness, or Parenting with Migraine. Everybody is so amazing in how much they help each other. Let's say I'm in pain, I can just send one of them a message and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling today, and they just like get a conversation started. They just know how you feel. All you need is someone who says, I get it, I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, and we are
This
strong
is
together.
horrible. Yeah, so my page is a way of me doing that for myself, you know, and for someone else like me. And it's been amazing. Like,
Yeah,
I
you
never
have a
expected
really
this to happen. It was born out of a lot of frustration. I was very depressed, and I thought, okay, let me just do something. Let me start, distracting myself and probably create some content for myself, and that's how it started.
yeah, you have a very nice page. It's very informative and it's very interactive. Like and the message is clear and easy to understand. Like when you look at your post, you're not left wondering like, what do I do here? Like you actually read it and you're like, yes, this makes sense. So
Thank
yeah, you have a very nice page. And yes, I do agree. We're stronger together, even because no one can relate to what we feel unless they live it. And even some family members, some I experienced in my case, were very like, oh, come on, these vestibular migraines, whatever, you'll be fine. Just brush it off and you'll be okay. And I'm like, it's no, like it's not like that. Or I had other family members that would be trying to understand, but they couldn't. And I don't blame them. Like they couldn't. And they're like, what can I do for you? Or my wife, every time that she gets out something, she's like, oh, I think this is migraine friendly because it says gluten free. And
you.
I'm like, I'm like, not everything that is gluten free is migraine free. Like soy sauce is gluten free, but it's apparently a migraine trigger.
It
So,
is.
I mean, God bless her because everything she grabs, like, oh, I'm gonna buy you this. It's gluten free. It's good for
That's
migraine.
so sweet.
But at some point, I sat down with her and I said, baby, it's not like that. Like, I thank you for trying to understand, but it doesn't work just like that. So it's almost like you feel alone because you meet both extremes. Some family members and friends that don't really care, and other ones that care too much but don't really get it, right? So you're right. Having a
I've
community,
never had anybody get it. In
yeah,
my circle, in the 30 years of my life that I, lived without any kind of support, nobody got it, even though they understood or even though they were also experiencing migraine. So they'd say, I drink coffee, I don't get I don't get it's not a trigger. So how is it a trigger for you? Or when I have a migraine, I sleep it off. How are you saying that you're in pain every week? So they don't, I think it's not their fault. It's just that awareness around the subject is so limited.
yes,
One, really, nobody understands what migraine is. Even the scientific community thinks they know. They just think they know right now. And they're just trying to explore the topic. But
yeah,
nobody understands. Who knows, tomorrow it may be named as a syndrome, a completely different syndrome,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It presents so differently in each of us. So it's hard for anybody to understand. So I get that now, that my husband probably won't understand what I'm going through because he's never had it.
yeah.
And even
It's
if he did have it, he would have experienced something completely different,
different. Yes, yeah, we're
right?
also unique. You're right.
Yes.
Shruti, what does the future hold for you?
This is a problem I've had. I couldn't visualize because of my condition. Um, I can't think about tomorrow at all. I can't think about what I'll have tonight. It's a problem. Like I try to work on it, but I'm vividly aware that it's because my brain has changed.
Mm,
So I don't know. I think I'll just live right now in this moment and try to cope with this moment and plan just this moment. That's it. I really can't plan another year. I used to be able to. I can't do it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
hope I can raise awareness. I
yes,
hope I can help other people feel a little seen, um, you know, little less alone, and and I hope I can get back to work.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, if people want to know more about you, want to follow your page, where can they find you?
I'm at Chronically May on Instagram, so they can find me there. And that's where I'll be posting most of my content. My website will also be linked there. I'm reworking on it just to include like more content around migraine, just make it more content friendly. I was selling T-shirts, self care and self love T-shirts to help people. That'll just be a background thing because I want to focus just on the content, just on making people understand themselves, stop hating themselves because of their condition. So yes, Instagram would be the best place to reach me, and through there you can go everywhere else. Like I'll leave some links around.
All right. And as you know, this channel is called Find Your Chappiness, which means find your happiness. So how does Shruti find her chappiness?
I I find my happiness by creating content that builds relationships. I find my happiness by, let's say, finding out who I am. This disease has changed me. I don't even recognize myself. I've lived hating myself because I was told that it's not normal to be who I am. But I think, yes, happiness would be to finally figure out who I am or be whoever I'm gonna be, and do that one step at a time, just with these little skills that I have, and not take life too seriously.
Yeah, yeah. And I like that. One step at a time. We often wanna chew more than like take more than we can chew, but you're right. Sometimes we gotta take it one step at a time and go through the
I
process.
actually say one breath at a time, because
Yeah.
even that step, I mean, you have to get off the bed, so it's just one breath at a time.
One breath at a time sounds good. All right, well, welcome to Canada. Let me tell you,
Thank you,
it's an
John.
awesome country, and I hope you get to enjoy it and your family gets to love it as well. There are good doctors out there, so don't give up advocating for yourself because some of them can be quite mean, but there are the good ones that do care. So keep up, keep on the fight. Like you'll find a good one that cares for you, And yeah, I hope we can catch up again sometime soon to see how things are changing.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, all right. Have a good day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.